Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Drive. Today we have a beautiful German car and we're at a beautiful farm in Germany. So, to find out more about this thing, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video right now if you want to support us. We're going to find out if you really need an M2 when you could have this wonderful Stage 1 M240i. Friends, let me talk about the 2 Series in general. So the 2 Series is a car that is, in my opinion, somewhat like an E36 or an E46. The dimensions are very similar, so it's kind of the same width and the same length, and it's giving you the proper BMW drive and experience you would also get in an E36, but with all the modern components. So this one in particular is the M240i, and it has been tuned by the owner, Stage 1 MHD, with an XHP software upgrade for the transmission. We're going to go into detail while driving, but for now I'm going to show you some design elements that I like really about this car. So for that, let's start at the front. This pretty face is the old school BMW love that we all have. So we have those little kidneys here, not over-dimensioned like the new models, really nicely made in black, matching with the outside color. The car is black, full black spec from the outside and inside, but we have some golden finished here, like a champagne gold, stylish flaps where the air gets channeled and cools the engine and gives fresh air to the turbochargers. Here we have openings that are supposed to cool the brake system, which is also very good because when you're driving this car, you're going to drive pretty fast and you need good brakes, which it has. So it isn't an M2, it isn't a car that you're gonna, let's say, smash every day and drive only on a Sunday. It is a daily driver, but with the power of an M2. So let me talk about the engine and explain what the owner has done to it. So to open the hood, you have to pull the handle like 2 times, one to release the lock, and now you can open it. So what do we have here? The engine is called a B58, which makes it a straight 6 inline engine, 3-liter, with a turbocharger, single turbocharger, which is called a twin scroll turbocharger. It produces a standard 340 horsepower and 500 newton meters of torque. But the owner wanted it a little bit faster, so he has an MHD Stage 1 in it. Now it produces 420 horsepower and about 640 newton meters of torque. So to be able to drive that properly, you need a good transmission. It has a ZF automatic as standard, but the owner, again, optimized it a little bit with an XHP software upgrade, so now it shifts like a double clutch system. I'm going to show you that later in the video. So the B58 is used in a lot of BMWs, in the 3 Series, 4 Series. The next displacement would be the one in the Toyota Supra that you have seen all around the world, and it is somewhat like a 2JZ from Germany, but we're in 2022, so it makes really good power. You could actually tune the engine as standard at over 500 horsepower. A lot of people have done it, and it will be capable to be tuned to approximately 600 horsepower before you have to change major components on the engine. So now let's look at it from the outside, the back, a little bit of the interior, and go for a drive. So let's talk about some technical specs, because the car stands in at 1,615 kilos. It's the X-Drive model, so it needs good brakes. We have a 345 millimeter brake disc at the front with 4 piston calipers, an 18-inch wheel, 225/40 in the front and 245 at the back. Also a 345 brake disc, but only 2 piston calipers. Other than that, the design is very clear. We have this wonderful BMW typical line from the last generation of design, coming from here, cutting angles at the door and finishing at the back. So the new BMW has lost this beautiful line and the character. So this is one of the last basically the last 2 Series that gives us the BMW character from the old school days. The owner was so nice to change this little part here to carbon fiber, so it makes it a little more beautiful. So let's look at the design line BMW has used at the back of this F22 2 Series. So it's very nice and simply held. It has a little spoiler here, just making it a little bit more aggressive. 2 exhaust pipes with a valve system, so you can open it on country roads and close it if you want to drive somewhere silently. No pubs and banks in the village. And then that's about it. It isn't a show-off car, it isn't a blender, it is something that gives you exactly what you would want. Welcome to the clean BMW interior design, combining sporty elements with a little bit of elegance. So, for example, this BMW 2 Series has a leather steering wheel, 3 spokes here, typical BMW from the time. This wonderful gear shifter knob, very standard, very nice looking elements of silver plastic, and here this middle part. You have this display, the iDrive system, controlled by this little knob here, or also the touchscreen. Let me start it up. So you could also control it here with the touch screen. So very nice, but you have to lean over a little bit, so that's somewhat not the best design here. Other than that, analog speedometer, left side your speedo, on the right side your RPM gauge, and that's it. Clean, driver oriented, and that's what a BMW is all about. In the middle, your climate vents, your climate control down here, and the radio buttons. That's it. But this car has been tuned, so there are some gadgets I'm gonna show you right now. So this is the steering wheel. To be able to change the settings of the car, it is built in maps. You have to press the board control for 4-5 seconds. Now, as you can see, the RPM gauge changes to 4. That would be the strongest settings, and I could change it to 3, 2, or 1. So when I've decided which one I'm gonna drive in, for example, I want the strongest setting, I just press the board computer sign here on the left and hold it. But if I wanted to make a little bit of an, let's say, impression when coming to a car meet, I would go into 3. So if I do that, the car makes more pops and bangs, and that's beautiful. So that is what the MHD tuning settings can do. All right, friends, watch this. So we have some quick gauges here. For example, I pressed the button 7 and I got into the sport dash. So left side shows me how much horsepower I have, on right side shows me how much newton meters the car is giving me when I accelerate. So then you have a thing, when you drive the car on track, for example, you can actually go to setting 6, and there you have your RDC, so the control gauges of your tires. You actually see how much bar you have, plus how much degrees you've driven the car's tires. So imagine, I mean, this is a standard 2 Series model, M240i, and you have something that a race car would have. This is so beautiful, and I love BMW for giving you so much important information. And that is about it. The rest is pretty standard. So let's see how much space I have in the back of this 2 Series. So for that, move the seat and sit in this coupe. So the driver's chair hasn't been moved. That's a position I'm driving in. And as you can see, I'm pretty tall. I'm 185. So it's not that spacious in here. I touch the top part of it with my head if I just sit straight. If I lean back a little bit and the driver goes into a, let's say, a little narrow position with the steering wheel, I would have a little bit more space. But still, you can easily drive an R02 here at the back, and you would also have this middle part to lean over to have a rest for your hand, cup holders in the middle, air vents. You can actually change the climate control, like well, just 2 positions, cold and hot, and if you want it to blow or not. So that's about it, but it's not what the 2 Series is about. Children have enough space. This car is for the driver. It's a 2+2 seater, and it has more space than other cars. So that's an okay for me. So let me give you the first underneath look on our channel. So this is what the BMW 2 Series looks underneath. And we have the engine at the front and the transmission also at the front part. So we have 47% of the weight at the back and 53% at the front. But the owner has done something very interesting, because this is the 2020 model. Coming up to 2021, it would have an OPF. Everything in here at the front is standard, even the downpipes, but the OPF here has been modified by Deathpool, and as you can hear, it sounds exactly standard. He even took this part from the BMW, it's a standard part, and made an outstanding job of cutting it here and removing the inside bit so the car sounds more like a before OPF car. So that is very interesting. Then coming to the back, we have a valve system. Here you can open it and close it. That will go, if you open the valve, the whole air, so the exhaust air travels around here and comes up through that pipe. If you close it, it comes up here and goes to the left one. Before we go on a drive, we talked about the engine. I need to give you a little listen. So now, listen to that. All right, friends, BMW M240i, Stage 1 MHD map, 420 horsepower, 650 Newton meters of torque, a modified transmission. It's a ZF automatic, 8-gear gearbox, automatic, but it has been modified by XHP. So it's the Stage 3 transmission software, which makes it very fast. So I'm now in comfort mode, where you have an eco mode where it would go to sailing mode. For example, when you lift off the throttle, then would go into sail mode, so it doesn't use as much fuel. I'm gonna put it in comfort mode, which makes it very smooth when shifting. As here, you don't feel anything, no disturbances, everything is all right. Sport mode makes it a little bit more aggressive, of course. The suspension gets stiffer. This is the M240i version, so slightly below the M models, M2 for example, but still enough performance to give you and satisfy your needs of a sporty BMW experience. But the owner is not just someone, he's a very, very nice guy, lent us the car, believes in the channel, and he explained everything to us. So we're gonna go to Sport Plus. I'm going to put the car into the sport shift setting. We are on map 4, which he configured to 100% power. So 420 horsepower, 650 Newton meters of torque. And I'm gonna step on the throttle right now. So I'm driving 40 and I'm going to accelerate to 100. That was 120 right there. The suspension is not as stiff as in an M car, but I don't want it to be as stiff. This is an all-wheel driven 2 Series. I don't want it to be as stiff as an M car. But everything else, I mean, this is the B58 engine, feels actually like I'm driving an M car. Maybe it has to do with the Stage 1 of the car. That is possible. I have driven an M240i before, but this is something completely different. As I said, it's the facelift model with the B58 engine. It has been modified slightly on the engine, but heavily on the exhaust. It doesn't have an OPF anymore. It has valve technology, so you can open your exhaust valves and close them. It has a mapping, it has a transmission software, so this feels completely insane. Listen what happens. I've chosen the third map. When I now step on the throttle, this is completely insane. But we are now at 85% of the power, so I'm going to go to map 4 just to give you an example of what this feels. I'm stepping on the throttle right now and accelerating from 0 to 100. So 3, 2, 1, no launch control, just a full step. There was 130 right there. And I misshifted one time. So this is completely insane. I'm going into S1 mode and I let the car accelerate a little bit. I'm gonna put it a little bit on, while holding the brake, a little bit on the throttle. So now, let's go. It literally spun the front wheels when going into second gear. I don't know what it was 0 to 100, but it surely was under 4.8 seconds, because that would be the normal, the standard acceleration. And I think we did a 4 flat, a 4-second solid. How does it feel compared to other cars in that segment? It's really difficult to compare it, but I would say it is much more fun than an RS3, for example. Although you shouldn't compare this car to an RS3, because you should compare the M2 to an RS3. But this is just something else, man. It's his daily driver, and you should think, okay, it shouldn't be so fast, but this car is really absolutely insane. Those 420 horsepower feel much more like 450. The B58 engine is anyway very aggressive when you push it, so I'm very happy with it. The suspension, I'm in the hardest setting. The steering wheel is a little harder. It doesn't give you the best experience when turning into a corner. It's the best feedback because it's an electronic steering wheel, but still it gives you enough to be able to understand what the car does. Other than that, you have great feedback when driving the car because it's such a small car. It is light, 1,600 kilo. You feel exactly what it's gonna do. And it's so secure and stable because of the X-Drive. You have almost no chance of wrecking it, besides you turning the DSC off and trying to drift it, of course. But other than that, it is such a beautiful car for people that want to drive fast. And I think if you take this car to the racetrack, you're actually faster than an M2 because it's so stable. It doesn't have the best suspension. Maybe if you do that bit, you will be faster than a standard M2. I'm pretty confident that that is true. Other than that, I just like the fact that he modified it. And now let's talk about the transmission. So I'm in 6th gear now, all right? Sport Plus. When I put it into manual mode and I shift down 4 gears and then do the same. So I'm driving 60. I'm gonna shift down 4 gears. This is second. I mean, that didn't take more time than in a double clutch system. So now let's do it in Sport Plus. Let's do it in Sport Plus, leave it in Sport Plus. Now it's in 6th gear, but in automatic mode. I'm gonna step on the throttle now, push the kick down button and see what happens. Kicking now. There's a corner, braking a little bit. I mean, it's so stable, I could just keep on. I mean, what the hell, man? I thought about braking, but then I thought, why? Why should I brake there? Why should I brake going 150 into a fucking corner? Why should I brake? And this is an M240i, man. It's a standard 240i. It has been modified. Yeah, engine, etc. But I'm going into a corner. I feel more secure than driving my Aston Martin. I mean, how? This is really insane, man, really. This really brings a different perspective what you can do with BMWs. It is so easy to tune them. You could actually just take a basic 1 Series or a 2 Series, older generation, buy this car for 30 grand, used with 50,000 kilometers, for example, put an MHD on, and just rip everybody's face. What's the fact? What do I say as last bit of the car? I'm completely in love with it. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like our shit, share it with friends. Have a beautiful life. See you soon.